Good morning. My name is Girolamo D'Agostino. I work for Amaplast, that is the Italian association representing plastic and rubber machinery producer. I'm responsible of the environmental and sustainability area, and let me say it's an honor for me has been invited in this important international polymer symposium. For this reason, I'd like to say thank you to the Russian Association MNPC. My task today is to provide you an overview of the European legislation regarding the environment and sustainability matters. The idea is not to cover all the pieces of legislation, but to identify those legislative acts that more than others are affecting and will affect the European company in the upcoming future. What we see, what we are experiencing is a growing attention from the European institution on sustainability and environmental matters for the plastic sector more than in the past. Maybe for the first time, the action of the European legislator becomes a driving force in the European market and in the plastic market as well, more than in the past. And this is the first aspect that is characterizing the European situation with regards to the environment and sustainability legislation. The second aspect I would like to share with you is that we have a new right, a new important right. This is transparency. It is related to the business relation between economic operator and as well as the action of the European legislator. It is a new driving force in the European market. But let's start mentioning the most important policy program that represents the route to be followed by the European legislature in order to develop important concepts in the sector of the environment and sustainability. The umbrella policy program, is the European Green Deal. The European Green Deal cover all the environmental and sustainability aspect and has a big aim to shift from a polluted situation to a climate neutral situation for the European industry by 2050. The second document is the Circular Economy Action Plan. Here, the task is to move the European industry from a linear economy to a circular economy, dealing with important concepts as the eco-design, for example. The Circular Economy Package, published in 2018, represents the starting point of the so-called environmental revolution in the legislation sector. It is composed of a set of directives dealing with waste, packaging waste, automotive, electric and electronics, and so on. The plastic strategy, last but not least, is the only European policy program dealing with a specific material that in this case is right plastic. Here you have the list of the European directives that compose the circular economy package. Clicking each blue title, you can access to the official document. The circular economy package identifies some important tasks to be reached regarding the production of municipal waste and packaging waste, Both the waste has to be prepared for reuse and recycling, respecting the deadline of the 2025, 2030, 2035, and so on. The circular economy package deals with also the landfill disposal. So each packaging waste produced and addressed to disposal has to be less than 10% of the total by the 2035. The EU plastic strategy deals with important concept of the circular economy. They are the product design, so the eco design of the plastic product, the recycling content, and the separate collection. The European Plastic Strategy Program covers also important issues that are represented by the single-use plastics, the marine litter, and the microplastic pollution. Here we have, let's go through the three legislative acts identified that represent the legislation that is affecting more than others the European companies. The first is the Packaging and Packaging Waste Regulation. The first proposal has been issued in November 2022. At the moment, we have still a proposal, not the final version, that is expected to be published in the official journal of the European Union by the end of this year. Clicking the blue title, you can access the official document of the actual version of the proposal of the regulation. The regulation has important milestones, for sure the waste reduction with important target to be reached by 2030, 35 and 40, the recyclability of all the packaging, the reuse and refill in the packaging, the labeling and the deposit schemes. Let's go through more in details this important phase of the regulation. Recyclable packaging. All packaging placed on the market shall be designed to be recyclable by 2030. The recyclability of the packaging will be expressed in performance grade, and all the packaging that will be not in line by 2030 cannot be placed on the market. The European Commission has the possibility to take some time in order to modify not only this article of the regulation. This is a characteristic of the PPWR and represent one of the most important criticism of the regulation, because as you can understand, if the Commission has the possibility to modify the regulation after the entry into force, the European company do not have enough information in order to set the strategy to be compliant with the regulation. Another important point is the minimum mandatory recycling content in the Article 7 of the PPWR. By 2030, all plastic parts of packaging shall contain a mandatory minimum percentage of recyclates coming from post-consumer plastic and calculated as an average per production plant per year. Also, in this case, the Commission has some years in order to provide more detail or modify this passage of the regulation. If the recyclates that has to be used to be compliant with the minimum mandatory recycling content provided by the regulation, if this recyclate comes from abroad, so is imported outside the European Union, the characteristic of the recyclate, the technology used to recycle plastics, all these aspects has to be compliant with the European legislation. This is an important aspect of the regulation because represent an important barrier for the import of the recyclates from abroad. The PPWR provide also for important restriction on use of certain packaging. From January 2030, economic operators shall not place on the market the packaging listed in the Annex 5 of the regulation. Also, in this case, again, the European Commission has time to modify the content of the Annex 5 or to provide more detail in order to be compliant with this provision. In this slide and inside the upcoming one, you have the content of the Annex 5 that provide the ban from the market of some items. You can note that all the categories affected by the ban listed in the Annex 5 are single-use plastic items. Certain packaging placed on the market after the entry into force of the Packaging and Packaging Waste Regulation must be reusable. This is an important passage of the regulation. The European Commission has sometimes, in order to provide more details about the reusability of the packaging, one important aspect is this. We have the concept regarding the mandatory task to be recyclable of the packaging, but we do not have the number of rotation, the number of use the packaging has to assure in order to be defined recyclable. So we are waiting for this detail by the European Commission in order to have all the information to be compliant with the regulation. Now, let's go through the second legislative act, that is the Single-Use Plastic Directive, CUP named. The Single-Use Plastic Directive has been adopted in June 2019, received and introduced in the Member States legislation in July 2021 with the aim to limit the single-use plastic on the environment. To this purpose, has been identified the 10 most found items, single-use plastic items founded on the European beaches. These items are interested by the provision of the SUP directive. Some items will be banned from the market, and here you have the list of the items that will be banned from the market. Some items must be under some important product requirements. These are some examples of requirements. The design requirements are well known and regards the connection between the cups and the bottles. So when the bottles becomes waste, the cups has to be remain attached to the bottles. The member states has to optimize the separate collection for beverage bottles up to 3 liters of capacity, and these are the targets to be reached. And also the member states has to provide labeling requirements in order to communicate properly with the final user. Let's go through now the last legislative document, the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, adopted by the member states right in this in July 2024. The Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive deal with the business relation between economic operator and identify that new right, transparency, related to how the company deals with sustainability. To this purpose, the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive provides for the mandatory drafting and publication of a sustainability report for the company interested by the directive. The company has to make evidence of how they deal with environment issues, social issues, and governance issues that are the three pillars of sustainability. But why the European Commission impose this important task? Because there is an important link between sustainability and business risk. If the company that I wish to start a business relation is not sustainable, my business risk rise up. So this is the right of transparency. Investors or company that would like to start a business relation with another economic operator has the right to know how the possible business partner deal with sustainability. Because if my partner is not sustainable, my financial and business risk rise up. And so I must have the possibility to decide if start a business relation or not. This is the concept of this important directive, and this is why the European Commission imposed the publication of this sustainability report. The involved subjects are large company, parent company of large groups, and listed on the stock exchange, small and medium enterprises. The content, as I said, of the sustainability report are environmental data, social data, and governance data. Here you have some example of each one category data that the company has to insert in the sustainability report. The deadline for the production of the sustainability report. With regard to fiscal year 2025, the publication is forecasted by 2026 for large enterprises, and with reference to fiscal year 2026 and publication in 2027 for the listed on the stock exchange small and medium enterprises. It's all from my side. Thank you for your attention.